Right, let's get into some questions. I'll see if I can get as many out. I don't think I'm going to be able to cover them all again. I'm probably about 2 weeks behind. Hi, Drake. 2 weeks. Oh dear. I think there's a Drake question. Any recommendations, suggestion on how people can go about finding out how to correctly work on their inner work and shadow work without going down any rabbit holes? Do you know of any resources, info, places to look at, especially if they're starting out for the first time? Some people have covered it. Chloe wrote some documents up as well on it. But we've covered it extensively in all the shows. Maybe you can go and type it in and find it on the Think Different site. But the key to it is finding out more about yourself. What upsets you? What triggers you? Why does it trigger you? Is it from a childhood event? Is it trauma? Is it guilt of something you feel you may have done wrong? Is it shame over a certain event in your life? Was it something that happened to you when you were a child or when you were an adult that still plagues you? That's the inner work. The shadow work is more to do with how you mask yourself off, where you cover up weaknesses and insecurities, which we all do from time to time. And so your shadow is not integrated within you. So you, in essence, you don't trust yourself. And it's certain shows that we do, including Mondays, have a trigger effect on people. It's like the piece we did the other week, Black Reparations, triggered one or two people. If it generates a reaction that is not normal to your normal way of reacting, then it's a trigger in some way. And the more triggers you deal with, the more layers you pull away, and the more space you have in the vessel to accept the better frequencies. We've collected a lot of baggage, our own personal stuff. We've also what I termed sin eating, which is consumed vast quantities of the crimes and acts of the cabal and politicians and you name it. And it's all about processing it and letting it go. Forgive yourself and forgive others who have done harm to you. Holding on to it and holding grudges forever is carrying around a negative frequency. Let it go. It doesn't help you. One iota. If the soul leaves the body only after decomposition, what about all the harvesting of the organs? It's a completely different thing now. If the organ is placed in another body, does that prevent the soul from ascending? No, definitely not. Only other events that we covered in Monday and last week's show does that. Not no more. Why are we the only species on the planet whom can't look directly into the sun because it's too bright for us? Has this to do with, or is this to do with part of our alien origin, or is there another reason? Well, it's all about the limitation program and messing with genetics. I don't think there's many other species or animals that can look directly into the sun, because it can, with your eye being a lens, it's like using a magnifying glass and pointing the sun at it. it will burn. But we had a broader spectrum of sight once. In fact, all the known five senses have all been dulled. Our height has been dulled. Our life longevity has been dulled. You name it. It's all part of the limitation program. Do you have any knowledge what it means when people can remember their own birth, since I can remember mine? No, good luck to you. Some people can. Some people can remember past lives and some people can't. Some people have no memory the first 5 or 6 years, and others can remember their own birth and even being inside the mother. You know, everyone's different and everyone has their own memories. Are the UPU and Galactic Council aware of the direct mind control tech that has been misused against human beings to torment, rape and control them against free will? Yes, but largely it's a human-to-human problem now, and we have to fix it. You know, the overarching interference of non-humans in the past has been stopped. We have to fix, largely because there's not enough of us on the planet that can deal with that type of interference, and that's why certain ones have been prevented for doing this and doing that, and the peace treaty rubber stamped that. But it's up to us, the population, to say we don't want it, not ignore it, because by ignoring it you're consenting. Now, like I've said, I think there needs to be some help provided, given a lot of the clans and the Order and the minions are still running what is essentially an off-world program. We're still waiting for some feedback on that. Can you tell us about the explosion of unicorns in every form and on so many items in the store? No idea. At least it's better than bloody cats. Here comes the cat police. I'm in trouble now. Many religious groups consider martyrs as the highest honour that they can receive, and that their soul will be in the highest places in heaven and get rewarded. Yeah, it's a trap. Even though they sometimes are responsible for huge loss of life, such as suicide bombers. Is that a form of misinformation to let their soul only stay in the lower astral, or maybe the etheric level? Yeah, it's all a trick. It's the pact between the physical dark forces and the non-physical dark forces. The non-physical do certain tricks and magic as such, and they get the spoils of harvesting. The physical ones then don't have to do or face karma because it's not them that's doing it, and it's been a dance of the dark that went on for far too long, and we're kind of pleased that we're getting to the end of that now. What is happening with Operation Hot Musket? I'll tell you what's happening. Bullshit. That's the top and bottom line of it. This is 2014 year Luke News again. Jade Helm. It's all the same script that they roll out every 4 years. You know, coming soon. The militias marching again, like they were supposed to be marching in 2014. Yeah, right. You know, you're going to get a lot of this. In fact, we've had a lot of it this year. I'll probably have more about that later. A while back you pondered to yourself the concept of Mother Earth could be a psyops of sort, since there's so much consumption of others and parasitical expressions on this planet and in nature. How do you feel about that idea now? It was a theory, that's a possibility. I don't think it's changed too much. There's been a lot, almost everything on and in this planet has been infected in one way or another, and it's only over the last 5 years or so that things are starting to be corrected, and maybe that will be another one. My son is in the US Air Force building missiles, even though he doesn't much care for what he does. It's his job. He has 3 more years out of 6 years to do left before getting out of active duty. Wondering if he may be a soul dyer if he doesn't kill anyone. I told him that if I were in his position, I would probably try not to shoot anyone, but pretend. But he said he has to defend and protect his fellow colleagues as trained, no matter what. I'm thinking it's probably better to try and talk him out of not re-enlisting if he has a choice not to go to the next round, if it makes a difference. We have to sort the military out in so many levels. It's going to be ugly. All these people have all been sacrificed for nothing. I'm sorry, that's the truth. They're not fighting for freedom. They're not fighting for America. They're not fighting for people in or fighting against so-called bad guys. It's all about control and stealing resources and imposing their type of government. It's the top and bottom line of it. And I made one suggestion or proposal. It's turned out to be a proposal that went on last week's show about returning the soldiers from abroad back home in a phased in period. From all accounts, they can't just go home because it will cause chaos. But we being the I shouldn't say we, the US military have been set up as mugs, like the British military was set up previously to be the bully boys. Unfortunately, the people of both countries carry the shame of that, but it's not our doing. And I would like to see the military disbanded, personally, and we'll create a new military that is based on defence, not attack. The vast amount of money that's wasted on military per se is sickening, really, when you've got so many people who haven't got the basic essentials of life, and yet we can waste 716 billion a year, which is more than the GDP of probably half the countries around the world, on weaponry. More and more people are going to turn away from that, and I think we're seeing signs globally of people turning away from that. They're tired of war. The Portal people won't tell you that there's a lot of Israeli people campaigning on behalf of the Palestinians, and likewise. They won't tell you that because they want you to continue with the divide and conquer, so they can create more war bonds and money out of thin air which is why they're trying to launch World War III. They won't succeed, but it doesn't stop the idiots trying. You cause a world war, you can then print out bonds for the war, and then monetize and leverage them. That's how it works. But we have to do something about the military, not only in this country, globally, where it's a collective military, not a country-based military, which is always designed for divide and conquer, and where we protect this planet from outside and inside, not from creating wars on it. Once every country gains an ounce of courage and common sense and declares themselves sovereign, there's no need for war. Can entities mess with a person's car by making it do weird things on purpose to upset the person owner? Yes, they'll do it through the security certificates and the chips in all cars. Yes, there was a certain date of cars, but if you take it in for an MOT or you take it in for a service, there's nothing stopping them installing a chip without your knowledge. You know, those OnStar and all the others are there for a reason, and largely to do with spying. It's the top and bottom of it, and we've allowed it. We have to either get people to rewrite software and hardware for everything, or take them out the car until they do. Don't buy them anymore. Then they have a problem. As you say, no one is coming to help or save us. Well, we've had help, but they're not here to save us per se. That's up to us. Then how do you know we will prevail in writing a new chapter with or without the support of the cabal, or is this just what you hope for? No, it's not just what I hope for. I've made several predictions over my time on the radio show that have come to fruition. It's our time. They know it, and more of us are realising it's our time. They've had their time. They failed. And, 2013, when I put out the RV will never happen, it hasn't. 2013 also said Nibiru wasn't coming, World War III wasn't coming. 2015 I said in a show with Shane, the cabal will not only trim the fat, they will eat the lean, and we'll be left with a few psychopaths with little wealth, little assets and little power. It's all unfolding. We will prevail. Shane kind of believes that we will operate in two worlds, where they will have their world but we won't participate. But eventually that world of theirs will empty out, because humanity, or certainly the organic souls, have decided we've had enough of this control system and limitation program and famine and haves and have-nots, divide and conquer, etc., etc. We want a chart. Essentially, we have a right to be adults. We've had enough of being children. All the sleepers are essentially children. They're not ready. Have you got any news in South Africa? nothing that I can put out. There's a lot of things going on in Africa, a lot of positive things going on in Africa, but I'm reluctant to mention which countries, because every time you mention a country, IMF and UN goons turn up and threaten that president or prime minister or the central bank manager, you name it. So when it's safe to put out, I will be talking about Africa. We will probably be talking about it fairly extensive, because a lot of those countries over there are tired of the control system and want to go a better way. It seems we don't have control of the SSP. Do we have control of any of the advanced tech or secret bases or classified research bases? The SSP would like to do an awful lot more than they have done. So there is a element of control of what they can and can't do. We have... we, along with some of the species below, have limited their access, or not limited, initially limited, eventually eliminated any access to the real advanced tech, which could have catastrophic consequences. They won't be getting that tech back, ever. The secret bases, we kind of messed up some of their secret bases recently by crashing all their servers, and the classified research bases the same. That's gone. No, there was no truth, as I understand it, to take out Air Force One when Trump was in Argentina while Mr. Pence was in Mexico. Can you explain why the UPU doesn't enforce the treaty to enable Kim to release the funds? It's not up to the UPU to deal with human banking issues, and all the Galactic Council. You know, I've said this many, many times now. It's largely a human issue. In fact, practically it's a total human issue. And we have to fix things. You know, and we are and have and will continue to make enormous progress. But there's that much going on. You know, look at the items that gets covered just in this show. There's probably 30 to 50 items that get covered in one show alone. You know, and there's still a deeply ensconced program that's collapsing in on itself, and eventually it will collapse altogether. And I don't think we're that far off either, on so many levels. So the idea that the UPU would appear before agencies and go into banks, you would empty the bank out if some of the UPU beings went into the bank, I'm telling you. They're not all human. In fact, most aren't. But the UPU do enforce the treaty at the level they're required to do so. That is, others interfering with humans. That is the only level they will enforce the treaty. And hopefully I'm going to say that for the final time. All other problems that is on a human level is our responsibility. Reptilians and humans with large percentage reptilian DNA can control the minds of most humans. How can they do this if they cannot access the mental planes? Could they learn to feed off positive energy instead? Well, everyone has abilities, and some of them come in and combine abilities with others. Is how and why. Some of them are coming up, and I mean up, not down, from a higher dimensional frequency. That's the issue, where all the senses are ramped up compared to ours. Could they also learn to feed off positive energy instead? Yes, they're starting to do that. It will be a long process, but they have been lied to also, all of them. And there's quite a number who are really pleased with the peace treaty, and they're not slaves anymore. I've seen several claims about evaporating seas, such as the Mediterranean Sea. Is there any truth in that? Well, I have seen a few videos. What's doing it, I don't know. Maybe time shifts. Who knows? But I don't know the answer. What are we doing for time? It's an hour, and there's 3 pages, 4 pages. Oh dear me. I think I'm gonna go for another course for now and see how far I get. But probably the questions put on this week's show will not get answered. I'm reluctant to do an extra show because I have an extra show coming up on Monday. The return of Shane the Ruiner. So that will be Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But let's see how far I can get in the next 10-15 minutes. If we are sovereign entities, can we then therefore at any moment choose to leave this place? And if we do, why should it be a problem? You're stuck in this lifetime. You chose to come here. It's quite a valuable vessel to be in. You just don't realise it yet. So quite why you'd want to leave. There's only many billions of entities who would love to take your place. You just haven't realised the importance of your own life force and vessel. Is this a game, albeit a serious one, with the purpose of refining and growing soul essence? It was. Unfortunately, it got badly corrupted and interfered with. Many of the New Age people turn around and we have to banish the dark. No, we don't have to banish the dark. They teach us dark lessons of how not to be. If you've got nothing to bounce off, then that's it. It's not possible for everyone to be 100% light. If what I understand to be correct, and this source was a bit naive in this universe where he or she or it created a universe of light only, and then dark came in. If you've got no lesson or knowledge of dark, that dark is going to infiltrate very, very quickly, and it's only when it becomes a massive external problem, at that point it's too late. It's a bit like some of a bit like termites in a tree. You don't see it's a problem until the bark starts falling off. or your wooden windows, because they eat the inside. And when the wood comes soft on the outside, it means there's nothing left to hold it in. And that's the same of creating all light. If you don't know the dark will play its merry dance with no feedback. Because if everyone's 100% light and doesn't recognise dark, that is possibly what happened to this particular universe. Did our oversoul, or whatever totality of conscious essence that can be rendered unique, personality, vibration, agree to be here in this physical body as a minuscule soul fragment? That's exactly what took place. There's only a small part of you in here. Some of you may have recently started to experience your own multi-dimensional aspect. It takes quite a bit of processing and getting used to. You know, some of you have reported meeting yourself. That's an experience in and of itself. But yes, we're only a small fraction in here, much reduced. You mentioned that the military was sent to Haiti via orders from Anne. How is it that some still take command from that entity? Is it for expectations of being paid by the RV or some other reason? And does she give orders to certain generals, dragons and factions and alt media based factions? Yes. It's nothing to do with the RV and everything to do with the overreaching thuggery of the dragon groups. It doesn't matter which one they are. None of them are beneficial to humanity, despite what certain alt media people may tell you. These dragon groups have played games with us for a long time. And it was them that set up the Rothschilds in the 1500s. It was them who had control of the trust and gave nothing back to the people. And now they haven't got control of the trust. All these dragon groups are coming forward and telling you they're humanitarian and they want to give funds out. No, they just want to steal it. You know, I've heard a number of the calls that Kim has to field. These people think we're all stupid. No, sorry. We know all the tricks and we don't fall for your bullshit anymore. Sorry. But yes, she gives orders to certain generals. Of course, she's the head of the Blue Dragon Group, which is the UK group. And whatever factions and obviously the alt media based groups that support her, and also the Clinton News Network, and not just CNN either. When we switch to the quantum system, will the everyday person have any idea that we've even made a switch? We're already using the quantum system. It's rewritten the whole banking code. Because money is the biggest energy transfer and harvester. That's why that field was dealt with. It does have other aspects, the source energy being one. And there's no end to its capabilities, providing the ones that use it operate in the highest intent. So not everyone will be able to use it. In fact, very few. So there's no light switch, it's going to just switch over. No, it's already happened. Will wages, pensions being delivered in the same way? I'm not so sure where that question is going. I'll try and answer it. Nothing drastic will change. There will be subtle changes. I've spoke about this before. Phasing in and phasing out. I can't see how wages and pensions being delivered being any different. You know, you can have a completely different system like what they're trying to offer you with the crypto, fresh air tokens. That's not the way to go. Will people still have to pay gas, electricity and phone bills in the same way? Well, I'm hoping some of them will get phased out in some ways, depending on how much of the new tech we get out and how long it takes. And will we still pay for goods and services? None of that will change it. What has changed is their ability to use those funds and hold them in certain accounts and offshore accounts and hedge fund bets and all that nonsense and leverage it. The actual structure hasn't changed. It's their ability to steal, launder and collect vast quantities and use the money that they collect on their platform programs. You know, when we went into the banking system and we emptied all the clearance accounts that they fraudulently hold, there was 180 billion in there every day. You imagine what they earn. You put that into the stock market. You know, you'd only have to earn 1%, and you've got a rather tardy interest, and then you decide to keep it a second day and a third day and a fourth day, and on it goes. That's what they've been doing, and that has now stopped. The question is not if they will strike out against the takedown of the system, but how. The obvious method will be a war, scorched earth, retaliation. Neither of those are happening. The ability to get the scorched earth weapon has been denied to them, and that is permanent. As for war, that's been prevented several times since 1990 and will continue to be so until they quit. The question goes on, I cannot see them relinquishing their money, control and power. Well, they've already relinquished their money because it's all been put back in the trust because it wasn't theirs to begin with. As for control and power, that's eroding away by the second. And the reality is the control and power is only contained by our own fear. The reality is they don't have either. The only thing that's keeping them in a position, or the illusion, which is the correct word, of power, is our own fear. People in the government, we need more people of courage to stand up. People in the Pentagon, more people of courage to stand up. Langley, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the police, stand up. It only takes a few. You'll find there's a lot of others who may act like they want the control system, but privately they know it's all over, and they're waiting for others to stand up so they can follow. That's all it takes. Wondering how Kim, Thomas or the UPU would intervene to prevent such a move, protect the innocent. We don't give out plans of what we're doing. The average guy, girl is completely oblivious to the order, factions, war and the manner world holding trust. The average person had no idea we're in a control system or a matrix. The average person doesn't realise they had no real free will. The average American doesn't realise we haven't got our own currency, bank or government or constitution. But it hasn't stopped the progress, has it? We'll work around them. We have done for a number of years now. We don't need them. But boy, will they need us. No further updates on the rods on the earth as yet. What does discourse at the highest levels on winding down the experiment called religion look like? Well, we're not discussing that either, because that's put certain people at risk. And if we have any more, it will be those types of things will be in the intel on the show. How do we, the people, get to have a say in negotiations? Well, it depends on what negotiations you're talking about. In essence, you already have, you just don't recognise it, or you are looking for external proof that you already have. Why do you think there's chaos going on around the world? Why do you think there's people being fired or resigned or done for corruption, in inverted commas? It's not really corruption. If these alleged sealed indictments are true, why do you think that took place? Why do you think Monsanto collapsed? Why do you think people are not having smart meters anymore? You've already had your say. Why do you think the truth is being exposed in volumes now? Why do you think people are turning mainstream media news off, or TV altogether? Because they had the say. We've all had our say. Yes, some people will be seen to be in more important positions because they have different abilities or different mindsets to the ones that don't. But you're never gonna. We can't even agree on simple things in general. But one I can guarantee you is those that are negotiating on behalf of the planet will do so for the benefit of all on the planet, not for the few. That I will guarantee. Was the soul catcher machine used to strategically put souls into specific families according to parents' plans? No, it was a joint thing, pact between the physical and non-physical dark forces. Whether the parents were involved, I'm not too sure. Curious about requests for prayers to break the seventh seal on Bardsey Islands. A good thing or a bad thing? Well, it doesn't make any difference, but it's already passed. I put a warning last week about internet meditations, mass internet meditations, because none of them appear to have the right intent. Whether that's deliberate or not remains to be seen, but none of them appear to have the right, real intent. In another post regarding GM cutting jobs, you stated the following: the country is being hijacked by criminal elite and their mercenary and selective security groups. How do we get in front of this kind of behaviour, and how long can this go on? Again, that's more to do with plans and what we're going to do and how. That's best left. But everything on some level or in some way is being addressed. There's just that many things to cover all at once. It would have been nice if certain other people had done their jobs and removed certain elements to be less troublesome, shall we say. The longer it goes on, I don't see the real reason behind collecting sealed indictments, because whilst those indictments are sealed and those people or entities are still playing games, it just creates more issues on top of more issues. Right, I'm gonna leave those questions. There's probably another 2 or 3 pages. Sorry about that, but let's see if there's anything relevant. Query quickly. Simon Parkes, is he a fraud? My issue with Simon Parkes is him sexually interfering with female clients of his. There was at least 6 who were astrally raped following one-on-one sessions with Simon Parkes. And he did admit it, although he blamed his father, who he says was Anu. Except I know when Anu's here and when he's not. So that was my issue with Simon Parkes. The other issue with Simon Parkes is how much truth he can really say with a bloodline Illuminati family, a former politician, parents who worked for Langley and MI5-6, and he's also part mentored. He will have been in the programs, as all Illuminati children families have. So how far can he go, and how much truth can he really put out? But it was the issue of the astral rapes that took place on 6. To my knowledge, there may have been more when I had to speak out.